Caspervision. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Caspervision. Today we have got a big wave surfer, two-time world champion, Waterman?
Two-time Waterman and 15-time world champion.
15-time world champion. Man.
See that little ting on his tooth there?
Zane, let me get the surname right. Zane Schweitzer.
Yeah, Zane Schweitzer. Such a pleasure to meet you guys.
Pleasure to meet you, man. And thank you so much for coming on here. Like, what was really nice as well is when I reached out to you on Instagram, you were like, there was no, what's this, what's that, how's this? You were like, yeah, let's go, let's do this, you know? Is that sort of like your approach in life?
I guess you hit it, man. I've always been one to go all in, and when I see an opportunity present itself, I'm throwing myself at it. And, you know, I guess oftentimes I've been challenged with being too much of a yes man, jumping on opportunity and flustered with too much shit going on. But, you know,
it's like the Jim Carrey film, innit? Yes man, like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I looked at your website and you started, I suppose, getting in the water or surfing at, was it 15? Was it younger than that?
I was actually, my first competition I ever partook in, I was 3 years old. And so that was, yeah.
Surfing?
But
Three?
It's pretty thing, you know, where you guys are from. I'm sure you see parents taking their kids out ice skating or snow skiing and young. Well, for us in Hawaii, the beach and the ocean is part of our everyday life. And my parents are world champion windsurfers and watermen themselves. My dad's a 18-time world champion windsurfer.
Wow.
My mom's a national champion. They met competing actually on the windsurf tour. And so growing up with my brother, sister, and I, we just were always around the beach and around all these badass watermen and waterwomen. And, you know, my dad would have me on his surfboard before I could even walk.
Wow.
You know, going out and rafting waves and with the floaties on, and eventually standing up, crawling up his legs and trying to stand. And
nice.
And so, yeah, I've been surfing and in the ocean and really competing my entire life. I've always been super interested in it, more so for the sense of community. All of my friends, same thing as a young kid. And so it was just so fun to like load up and go to an event on the weekend and play with all my friends and be able to have fun. You know, flash into my teenage years, I actually, you know, fortunately came across the opportunity to call this somewhat of a job. You know, at 12 years old, I took on windsurfing as a professional career. And so I went from surfing every day and riding my bike, and, you know, windsurfing was a thing we did with the family, but I never really was super into it until maybe about like 8-10 years old. And I really started getting into it, especially after this kids summer camp we had. And same thing, man, we were just with all of our friends every day for the summer. And Linda and Hugh Stott, the parents who ran this, they changed our life because it really it gave me and like a few of my friends in that same group this opportunity to follow sport for not only our passion but our career. And so at a young age, we were 13, 14, 15 years old, getting threatened to flunk school because we were traveling around the world. You know, and so pretty stoked. I'm really grateful to, you know, follow in my parents' footsteps and do what I love. You know,
what a life, man.
Yeah,
that is so good, eh? So you must have had some sort of like jobs, you know, I don't know, Mackie D's or something like that. So what are there any other jobs?
I have side hustles, most definitely, and I wouldn't be able to do everything I'm doing without them. You know, and I do feel very fortunate that I have been able to follow my surfing and ocean sports for the most part. But you know, I also started a surf school about 15 years ago with my family. My brother, my sister, and I, we coach when we're home almost every day. And we host surf camps and retreats at our property on Maui.
Nice.
So, you know, when we're home, we have we're coaching ourselves. which is awesome to meet so many people and share what we love. But also it continues to run when we're traveling, which is great.
Oh, wow.
And so it helps us a lot for sure. And it helps me a lot, you know, to be able to float my career, because there's a lot of traveling that goes into keeping a name as a professional athlete in the water sports. You know, there's not always a big prize purse reward. It's a lot more for the lifestyle, and it's a lot more for, you know, the pride of it, and sometimes for the bragging rights. Because a lot of the events, you're not necessarily walking away with a lot of money. No. But I also have found a way to make it worthwhile for my time, but also for my family, and to actually save up a little bit. And so, you know, when I was a young kid first getting into traveling on the world tour, I was probably about 12, 13 years old. And at that time I was already working at the surf school and, you know, saving up money on my own. And I was doing a little bit of modeling on the side as well, because my mom, you know.
Oh, come on! Let's see the blue. Let's see the blue steel. Look,
he's already got it.
I paid for my first truck with a stupid little modeling shoot.
Yes,
and, you know, grateful to my mom for forcing me to go to it.
Amazing.
It was like a Land's End school T-shirt shoot, and I was always so embarrassed because all my friends got that magazine in the mail before. And, oh my God, and I'm there freaking, it's so embarrassing.
How old were you then?
But those type of things really helped me to really go all out in my sporting career. Because if, you know, going all out in my sporting career is something I do every day. Yeah. But I wouldn't do it without juggling other things.
Yeah, man.
You know, and so published author since 2017. I published
I saw that Beneath the Surface. Yeah.
And I host coaching and retreats on my travels as well. So if I have an event in Korea, I'll set up a speaking engagement and a book launch and do some coaching. And I'm also competing. Yeah, and that makes it worthwhile regardless of my result. You know, and so having that opportunity is really cool too, because a lot of athletes burn out with the pressure and the stress, and you're not always getting the result you want, and you're getting your added to you, and you're training every day, and then what's you got to show for at the end of the event when you didn't have a good day? You know. And
you sound like you've got that balance there. You know, you've got a good balance, and it's good.
Because the thing is as well, what I noticed as well, especially I think especially surfing and water sports, things like that. Like, you've got in one side the community where you all hang out as friends, and you applaud people with the best wave and all this sort of stuff, and then you've got the flip side of it, of where it's just full on focus mode pressure. I suppose it's like a lot of sports, most sports really.
Yeah, man.
But
you got to have balance with that fight or flight and that high stress. You know.
Yeah.
A lot of athletes struggle with that the most. You know, we're constantly pushing ourselves over the edge of comfort, and we're constantly putting ourselves in a state of just, you know, stress, whether it's through exercise, whether it's through endurance, whether it's through, you know, constant day after day training and week after week competitions and new locations. And because so you have
the talent out there is just phenomenal. Like, I was thinking about this yesterday, you know, and thinking about this podcast. I was thinking, I remember when I was surfing like every day, all day, just wanted to be in the sea, and you know, watching all the surf videos. Whenever you go into the pubs and things like that, you see the surf videos just going off, and like looking at all these pro surfers. Remember, like back then it was like Oki and Kelly Slater, and and I was just like, fuck, you know. And then
both those guys.
But how much it's advanced now, like surfing, and I think it's come down to the technology of the boards and things like that. But I remember, just obviously you look up to these pro surfers, you think, fuck, you know, even sort of like aerial 180s, like you know, landing on your tail, and I'll be like, holy shit! And nowadays people are popping off like 360s.
It's become norm, mate. It's like Medina, isn't it? Like Medina was the first one to like really start doing all these pop shove-its and stuff.
Yeah, was one of those first guys that in competition would just smash an aerial 360 like it's nothing.
Yeah.
You know,
but now everyone's doing it.
Any given heat on the World Surf League, and you know, every one of those guys are smashing full rotation 360s.
And they make it look so easy.
Well, that's it. There's little groms, mate, on the beach doing it. You know, there's like 12-year-olds doing aerials at Fistral now. It's like, holy shit.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
And another thing which is really good as well, I mean, the female side of it, like the surfers as well. Again, you know, when I was in the sea, it would be quite strange to see a female surfer. But like, shit, there's a female surfer. And then all of a sudden, it just went boom. And it's amazing. Those chicks are fucking amazing surfers, you know?
Yeah, no, even, I mean, there's always been a presence of wahine or women in the ocean in growing up in Hawaii. But especially in the recent years, there's almost just as much girls as guys in the water.
Yeah, it's lovely to see, mate.
Yeah.
And I think there's something particular about surfing that, because you were saying about how, you know, it could be quite stressful. I think the actual act of surfing is such a de-stressor when you're not obviously competing and things and trying to perfect your, you know, your surfing ability in that. But, you know, just being in the water, you know, I a while ago, me and my son, I took him out scuba diving, and we did a bit of scuba diving and snorkeling. And it's weird because just being in the water, like under, it feels like you're just you on your own. Like that other world up there is just gone. There's all the problems and that is gone, you know?
A whole new world down there. And there is scientific research, there's tons of it, that shows the chemical reaction our bodies and minds have when immersed in the ocean.
Really?
You know, it's there's one of my favorite books actually talks a lot about this, and it's called I believe it's called Blue Zone.
Right.
The book will come to me, but I believe it's called Blue Zone. They talk a lot about people that live near the ocean, and they do these scientific studies on communities that live near the water, and specifically the ocean. And a lot of them seem to have a less stressful life and a more relaxed kind of sense of day-to-day lifestyle. And they start to get interested in that and really look into it. And so when you're in the ocean, after 20 minutes, the ocean actually starts to draw positive ions out of your body and charge you in negative ions.
What?
And especially now we're surrounded by positive ions, overloaded with cell phones and frequencies and EMF, Wi-Fi. All of this stuff, we're overloaded with it. We constantly have a phone in our pocket. And so
it's funny you should say that, Zane. Sorry to interrupt, because I think, isn't that something to do with grounding?
I sent you that video.
Yeah.
I sent him a video the other day about not wearing shoes and that grounding effect. 100%. You know, everybody wears rubber shoes now, you know?
Yeah, you could get a very similar effect on wet grass or walking on the earth with no shoes. But in the ocean, it's actually accelerated a lot, because, you know, you have the salt in there and you have the saline and air that we're actually breathing. And the saline infused air has a chemical reaction in itself. And also, you know, there's no doubt that feeling we have after getting out of the ocean, that feeling of just feeling, you know, kind of calm and alertness and focus and energy. It's actually something that's scientifically proven to be provided from grounding.
Right.
And
that's so cool, man.
Because I also see that you, which I did for the first time, me and the missus, we did this last week, Thursday, the ice baths. You do the ice baths too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I try and do the ice bath and sauna every day.
I heard that it can reduce the risk of heart attacks for like 47% or something. It's crazy like that.
Tons of health benefits, general health benefits, but also you could use it as a tool to specifically target things in your life.
Right.
So I want to push my mental comfort. that's something that is most important to me in big wave surfing and in competition. It's being able to get outside of your comfort zone and risk mitigate efficiently, and be able to manage stress under pressure and manage panic under pressure. And so putting yourself in a 220-degree sauna and it feels like you can't even breathe, and push through every breath, you feel like you want to get out, but you find this calm and you're making it, you know. And same thing with the ice. You put yourself through this shock and your body automatically hyperventilates and has these muscle contractions, and your mind's telling you, get the
out.
Just all of a sudden you breathe through it, and all of a sudden you realize, oh, I can get past this. And there's a lot of benefits outside of just uncomfort. You know, like there's a lot of benefits to pushing yourself and into places of uncomfort. But
because you were doing that 7-7 challenge or something, weren't you?
The 777, that's you know, I think that's more of an introduction for people who are just getting into it. You know, I would normally do about 3 to 5 minutes or 3 to 7 minutes in the ice instead of 7 breaths at 7 seconds. But 7 breaths at 7 seconds, 7 days a week is a 777 challenge that is great for getting people into the health benefits of ice and cold exposure. So great way to get the benefit by spending minimum amount of time, but you're still getting the health benefit.
I was quite proud of myself and my missus. I'm sure women can cope with pain easier. Well, they can technically, but I went into the ice bath. It was at 2 degrees for 7 minutes first time. I was really quite happy with that. And my missus 8 minutes. I was like, what?
That's really good.
Yeah, I hear, because I thought that was the norm, because I'm reading the Wim Hof book, you know, the Iceman, and I just thought basically the longer you can do it, the better. I was like, fuck it, I'm going to try and do it as long as I can in 7 minutes. But the pain in I could have gone longer, I think, but it was the pain in my fingers and toes. It was like hammers, just don't on my fingers and toes. That's what was hurting, you know? And then straight in the sauna.
You chose to use the cold exposure as a tool to target your mental comfort and to target those stress responses that are instinctual, but you're pushing that stress response further back. And that's the amazing thing about doing things that any type of physical, mental training is we push that boundary a little further, and that's that natural stress response, right? So that's a long time, and that shows that you're very strong mentally, you know. And a lot of the time our mental power can overrun our physical capabilities if we have a strong mind.
Absolutely.
And in your case, you were starting to feel early stages of hypothermia, despite all of your instinctual stress responses telling you to get out. Right. So this was
pain. This was pain in my fingers and toes the moment I got in. It wasn't sort of like after 7 minutes. It was just like like needles, man. It was tough. You've got to do it, mate. You've got to do it.
I'm a little bit scared of it, to be fair, mate, because when I was a kid, I went up to Hendra swimming pool. You know Hendra, the campsite. It was in the middle of winter. Me and my mate Dave. I must have only been about 12. And I just took my clothes off, jumped straight in the pool in the middle of winter, and I nearly drowned.
Oh, wow.
Because of that exactly. I was just hyperventilating. As soon as I went in the water, I just couldn't breathe. I had no control over my breath at all. And I just panicked, mate.
Yeah.
I was fine. I got out, but it scared me. You know, it proper scared me. And then I've done ice baths. I've gone in an ice bath before in a spa. Yeah, man. Yeah, but not for 7 minutes, dude.
Well, I think
probably for about a minute at the most.
But the thing is, I think what helped me is because prior to this, obviously, I was reading the Wim Hof book, and I've been having cold showers, like just going boom from hot to cold for the last probably 9 months. So I've got used to sort of like just going.
You do get used to it,
just breathing through it, and just trying to breathe through it.
Yeah.
Everything is a tool, right? And we could always use a tool in a different way. There's usually a specific design the tool's supposed to be used, but we could always kind of, use it in a way that does one job or another. And breath is our most powerful tool. Like you're reading the Wim Hof book, and a lot of the Iceman theory is our power of breath, and how we can get past the sensations of stress responses when we're exposed to cold, or when we're exposed to heat, or when we're super stressed out in work, or when we're scared as shit from something happening in life or at home, And so like that's something that I've come to really appreciate, having the ocean as my everyday teacher. I challenge myself every day I wake up, and it's not every day do I want to go jump in the water, or not every day do I want to go freaking start my run and start my exercise, go to work. But as soon as I'm in the ocean, I always feel like I'm receiving information,
right?
And I'm getting grounded, and I'm finding that balance that I need. And the ocean, I do believe is such a good teacher in that sense. And big wave surfing, it really pushes you to, I guess, everything a human is not designed to do.
Yeah, talk us through a little bit about, first of all, how do you physically prepare yourself to ride these huge waves, like, because when you wipe out and you're under there, you can be under there for God knows how long. I mean, like, how do you prepare for this?
Well, physically, I'd prepare for big wave surfing with a lot of exercises that are going to get my strength for impact to be, because there's a lot of impact with big wave surfing. And if you don't have a little bit of strength, then the waves are going to tear you apart. You could break a joint, a bone easily. And so strength is important, but there's balance in strength. And so when I am preparing physically for big wave surfing, I try and keep a balance of physical strength and power, but more so stamina, cardio, and flexibility.
Right.
It's really important to have mobility, flexibility, and full capacity of your lungs. And so if I'm a muscle builder and I'm just jacked up, shoulders, arms, stomach, chest, my lung capacity is naturally limited from a layer of muscle. Now my capability for impact and to keep my body together, getting pounded, sometimes even against the bottom of the ocean, the sand or the reef, I'm going to through it. I'm going to be strong. I might come out of it in one piece, but we limit our not only our lung capacity because our lungs essentially are a balloon. They're a muscle in itself. We have to exercise our lungs to get its full capacity. And if we're not flexible and we don't have muscles that can actually have a little bit of elasticity, then can't really expand our chest and expand our.
Well, that's where your saunas are going to come into play and stuff, just to relax all the muscles,
Totally, 100%, and to relax the muscle contractions. When you jumped into that pool when you were a young kid and you felt like you were going to drown, you probably immediately felt just your muscles contracting and this urge to just.
Yeah, 100%, mate. I had no control at all.
What happened there? How did you?
I literally jumped in, so I wasn't far out, but I went under, come back up, and just hyperventilating. Just couldn't control my breaths.
So you managed to get out?
Yeah, I had no control. I couldn't have held my breath if I wanted to. Dave was there. I just grabbed hold of the side, but it petrified me. Every time after that, I was like, don't fucking jump into cold water. You're gonna die.
Cold is scary, man. Cold water scares me.
Yeah.
It was just a lack of control that scared me, mate. I had no control over it. I'd never done that before. I didn't expect it was going to be that cold. Yeah. But literally, it just took my breath away.
Because what's the temperature of the sea in Maui? Do you know?
Oh, man. Hawaii's pretty warm waters. I would say the water is anywhere between, around 70. 78.
Oh, we're old school, man. We go in degrees Celsius here.
Yeah, degrees.
Fahrenheit. So
it's warmer than England.
It's a lot warmer than it.
Have you ever surfed in England?
And that's some pretty. You gotta have a strong mental toughness just to get in the ocean out there.
Man. Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely. Because we have like 5'4"
wetsuits,
5'4" wetsuits. Yeah. In the summertime, you can get away with 3'2" wetsuits. Some people go in there like the height of the summer when it's a really nice hot day. You can go in there in boardies. Yeah, but you can't be in there that long.
You can get away with a 1 or 2 mil suit in the summer. But not for if you're in there for long.
It's all relative. It's all like kind of, your perspective. And like when I travel to Europe and I see these teams of people in their 60 to 80s and they're in their Speedos swimming and
yeah, man.
Like, these guys are hardcore, man. Yeah. And in Hawaii, it's like we're kind of wussies when it comes to anything else but perfect.
Yeah. Even the waves are like wave machines over there, right?
Oh no, mate. I used to surf in anything, mate. I would go in anything. In Fistral, it'd be 1 to 2 foot slop, and onshore 20, 30 mile an hour wind. I'm fucking in there loving life. I just surf anything.
Yeah.
And I try and put myself in that state of mind because I'd rather surf with someone like you any day rather than someone who's a professional surfer
who wants perfectionist. Yeah.
It's just, you're never going to have a perfect day.
No.
And I'd be having fun on the water every day.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why I do so many ocean sports, like there's always something on the ocean that's going to excite me when I know that I can utilize the wind and the waves or underwater, and there's always something to do between windsurfing, kite surfing, hydrofoiling, big wave surfing, free diving.
That's what I was going to ask you, mate. Have you done free diving before, where you just drop, right? Oh, man.
Totally.
How deep have you gone before?
Everything I do, I try and put intention towards my focus.
Yeah.
Right? And my focus is big wave surfing, right? I'm competing on the world tour still for stand-up paddle surfing and hydrofoiling.
I've seen the foiling, man.
Really, I'm most excited right now about big wave surfing.
Okay,
so all of training and everyday preparations, I try and put the intention towards competition or big wave riding. So for diving, there's a lot of relative benefits for that. Number one, when you put yourself 80, even at 60 feet deep, already that's a lot of pressure you're putting yourself under. So the deepest I've been to is about 130.
What?
And at that pressure, when I was first learning from one of my really good friends, Bobby Twitchell and Ben Zion, they're professional free divers here in Hawaii, and friends that I grew up with, and they wanted to get me in the water to experience that, and I wanted to challenge my body to handle pressures at depth, but also to handle lung capacity at depth. Because a full breath of air feels a lot different at the surface than 100 feet down.
This is what they trained me when I did scuba diving, how all different like pressures around your chest and that, and then as you a whole breath going down, if you're breathing in, underwater, by the time you go up, you've got to exhale, otherwise your lungs can just explode, literally. Yeah. So how did you feel with the equalization going down and that?
Actually, you know, I've always been a spear fisherman. My dad has provided for our family, putting fish on the table for as long as I could remember.
Oh, man.
And so,
the fish they've got in Maui, mate.
I know.
They have Dorado.
He's well into fishing.
Oh, mate. The fishing over there.
Gotta come visit us sometime.
Oh, mate, I've seen the guys that go out on the kayaks and they do kayak fishing over there, and they get monster Dorado, and they get Spanish mackerel and all that lot over there as well, or not?
Oh, yeah, I'm not sure what the English name for it is, but you know, we get all kind of pelagic fish and awesome deep water fish. And
do you guys call them mahi mahi?
Mahi mahi would be
Dorado.
I think they call it. Or Dorado,
Dorado,
that's Dorado.
I think that's them,
Oh, no.
Oh, look at you, fucking fisherman here,
all kind of stuff. And so growing up with my dad, like I always got to become familiar with spearfishing.
We want to try that, don't we, mate?
Oh yeah, man, we'd love to give that a go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
get some carp.
It's a great exercise in marks. It's fun.
In a pond.
It's a way to take your mind off of it. Because you're thinking of fish, you're thinking about the hunt. You're not thinking about, I need air, or how deep am I? You know, and just that is such a great relative lesson for the activity or for anything in life. You know, if your mind is focused on something else or in a place of peace, we could go about more efficiently.
And even just down to hunting, Zane. Do you know what I mean? Just hunting, getting up with the fish.
Yeah, you're all excited about it.
Yeah.
But that's what I was going to say. When I go fishing, that's what it's all about. Your mind is 100% focused on catching fish.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it is hunting. You're hunting the fish. But you forget about life, man.
Yeah.
You forget your troubles.
But I only enjoy
therapy,
it.
Innit?
I only enjoy it, though, when you can take it home and eat it. I don't like putting it back.
Oh, no, it doesn't bother me putting them back. Sometimes it's all about the thrill of the hunt, mate.
Nah,
you know?
I want to eat it.
Nah, you can't eat them all, mate. You can't eat them all.
So, mate, I need to ask you about this big wave surfing, okay? Because, like, man, I showed my son today. I was on Instagram and I showed him. I said, "Look, Tyler, this is who I'm interviewing today." He was like, "Whoa!" Ask him what it feels like to go down these big waves. But before you answer that, mate, you know, obviously you must have surfed big waves beforehand. When you decided to go, okay, I'm going to go big wave surfing, was it a massive step up? Did you just go, okay, this is the next level?
No.
Or so did you gradually go to that level?
Yep, gradually made my way up to that level. And, you know, I think there are some people who have this fantasy that overcomes them, and all of a sudden they want to become a big wave surfer and they just throw themselves out there. And man, I have a lot of respect for those guys, but at the same time, it's a big responsibility. And so for me, I've always grown up learning, if in doubt, don't go out.
Right.
And that's something that is familiar.
I got a story about that. I've got a fucking story about that, mate.
I think we all have, mate.
As soon as you said that, I was like, shit, yeah. And I think I've told it before, so I'll give you the shortened down version. So basically, as I told you beforehand, I wanted to get in the sea no matter what, whether it was like a foot or whatever. And there was this backpackers that you have to walk past every time you go to the main surfing beach in Newquay Fistral. So as I was walking past, I noticed all these surfers just sat outside the front. I'm like, why aren't they in the sea? And they just looked at me like I had two heads. I'm like, right, and I walked over and I saw the beach, mate. And this is probably nothing to you, but I saw a wave from a distance. The wave was that big, and I saw one surfer out, and he was like that. And I was like, oh shit.
Massive.
I can't walk past them dry. I'm going to have to go in wet to show that I've been in the sea, you know?
Lose a bit of face.
The surf was just so huge. I've never seen it that big before. And I thought, oh, fuck. So I've got to try. So I got in there and I thought I'd just paddle about a bit, get wet, not get any waves, and walk past. Yeah, literally get in wet and just walk past them. So, and I thought, no, sod it. I'm going to see if I can paddle out. And I'm paddling out, mate, and I'm paddling up these waves and falling, boom, behind them. I'm thinking, I should not be out here now, like what you said. And I thought, fuck it, I'm gonna get the smallest wave in. I'm gonna get the smallest wave. And these waves were so big. And I got, like, here's one. Started paddling, felt the push, dropped in hang 10 on a fucking 6'5" board. I don't know how. Managed to get my back foot. And I'm looking at this face, and it's fucking huge. I'm like, woo! Like, fucking yes, let's go. And then, you know, when a wave like goes into another wave and it just jacks up,
double up.
That happened. I just went, oh fuck, boom, and I'm under. Another one, boom, and I'm just washed up now, and I'm panicking. I'm praying to my granddad, get me out of this, like, please, like, literally. I was crying, like, to get me out. And from that moment on, I said what you said: if in doubt, don't go out. And then I walked past that backpackers. I was like,
fucking hell, man.
Good. That's a great story, and it's very relative to what a big wave surfer may feel in a situation that we're pushed to our comfort zone. It's just scaled up a lot, you know. And so
that's what I don't get, Zane. Sorry to interrupt, mate. That's what I don't get with big wave surfing. How, to me, getting smashed in those waves, wiping out on an 80-foot wave. How the fuck do you come out? How do you come up? Yeah. How do you get back up to the surface, man? It's incredible.
We talked about the physical preparations, but I believe it's more about mental preparations in big wave surfing.
About relaxing,
you know,
like, you know?
Yeah. Before I answer that question, I'll go back to one of the last questions, and that's how can we actually prepare for this?
Sorry.
Baby steps, you know. And when I was a young kid, one of the memories I have very clearly for my first time feeling like I'm in big waves, you know. Until then, I was just out surfing, and you know, it's really thought, oh, this is a big wave, as everyone else is out with me, you know. Well, there was one day I was maybe about 8 or 10 years old, and I wanted to go surf with my older brother and all his friends, which I looked up to my older brother and all his friends. They're 5 years older than me. They were all like the top junior surfers in Hawaii at the time. Our parents were getting ready to go in the van, and they said, no, Zane, you can't go. It's too big today. And I remember I snuck into the minivan, and I snuck in. I put my board, and we remember going down the rough road, and I knew, okay, we're about to park. We parked. As soon as that door opened, I came flying out with my board, running, jumped in the water. And this was not a great lesson because I did not consider if in doubt at all. I was just, they said no, stubborn enough to go just because, you know, I want to be there with them no matter what. Yeah. And by the time jumping off the cliff and into the water, I'm realizing I'm in over my head a little bit. But my brother guys were right behind me. And you always hear about the importance of a buddy system.
Yeah.
Well, I might not have known it at the time, but I had the best buddy system. I had the top junior teenage surfers in Hawaii all right there. Like, damn it, now we got to look after Zane.
Yeah.
And and as much as I might have felt moments of like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have done this. Yeah. I knew that I couldn't back out now. I had to hang with the big kids. Yeah. I had to prove that I could keep up with them because I loved those guys. All I wanted to do was be with them, you know. And in many ways, surrounding myself around more experienced people my whole life, whether it was my brother and his friends or my dad and mom's friends, I always kind of just learned a new normal. And this is a new normal. And now this is a new normal. And now we're surfing 15-foot waves. Right. And now we're surfing 5-foot waves, and now we're surfing 60-foot waves. You know, it just starts.
Honestly,
it's just insane. Just saying that.
It's fucking like, crazy. Mate, I like. There's one clip. Like I say, I saw you dropping on this thing. Like, you know, the speed that you drop in on these things is fucking incredible.
Fucking boards going
and like, man,
like, Jesus, man.
Yeah. How long are these boards that you? What size are these boards that you're using?
Anywhere from 9 foot to 11 foot. And so when you look on my Instagram or YouTube and you see some of these waves of surfing jaws or peahi, you know, we're probably going anywhere from 20 to 35 miles an hour, straight down your ski resort's mogul mountain run.
Yeah.
Just like, you know, it's like full speed down the ski mountain through the moguls.
Yeah.
These boards have length for two reasons. They have length and weight. Okay, so they're long enough to get
fly
into
off,
the
mate.
Yeah, so they don't fly away. These boards are long enough and heavy enough so that we could, number one, get into these waves that are already moving really fast. And they're walls of water coming at you like a tsunami. And you have to fully commit at the bottom of that thing, paddling full speed. And you're getting sucked up the top, paddling as hard as you can. And then all of a sudden, the weight of your board helps you to go downhill.
Yeah.
And then eventually you stand up. And you go from thinking you're going backwards to freaking
boom,
full speed downhill, and you're keeping your legs wide and your stance low, and your board's weight is helping you to just slice through these chops that are the size of what normal people surf on.
Yeah, man, this is it. Like the bouncing. I look at those bounces. I'm thinking that's a good size wave. Yeah, that's a good size wave.
Yeah. And so, you know, there's a lot that goes on when it comes to, you know, there's a lot that happens in a short amount of time. And that's why, you know, I talked a little bit about mental preparation, and there's nothing else that I focus on more, especially at the level I'm at right now, than mental training, mental toughness, and preparing myself mentally for the moment that I'm going to be pressured to panic, right?
Yeah.
Panic is the worst thing that could ever happen in the ocean.
Yeah.
And just 2 weeks ago, we had one of our biggest swells to hit Hawaii, and some people are saying over 10 years.
Wow.
And I was out surfing with the intention of catching the biggest wave of my life, you know? And so I was out there sitting the furthest out, waiting for the biggest wave of the day. I studied the swell and the forecast, and it was forecasted to peak between 1 and 3 p.m. Hawaii time. And so as the time approached, I put myself far out, way further out than everyone else, expecting that the ocean is going to send some bombs my way. And all of a sudden, right when I was starting to think I'm too far out, I'm over 100 yards out than everyone else. Maybe I'm too far out.
Yeah.
These freaking walls of water grew from the horizon. And the first one, I barely made it over.
Wow.
You know, you have a choice to fight or surrender in big wave surfing. When you fight, that's when you're grateful for your physical preparations. When you surrender, that's when you're grateful for your mental preparations. And that choice that you make could be life or death between fighting and surrendering. And in that moment, when the first wave was approaching, I knew that I could probably make it past the wave before it threw and broke. And so I chose to fight. And I was fighting, paddling hard, you know, getting my speed, you know, breathing consciously though.
Yeah, because that's a happy medium, because you think, I'm going to fight, which means I've got to use a lot of energy. If I don't hit this, then it's going to straight on top of you. And then you're knackered. And
so you have to be conscious of your breath, even when you're sprinting, right? And so in that short sprint, I got over the wave. And you were mentioning with your in doubt moment in the ocean, how when you're going up and over the waves, like the speed of the wave passing you, when you get over, drop down the back.
You fall.
All of a sudden, I'm climbing up this wave that is literally 50 feet tall at least, up this face. All of a sudden, the wave passed me with so much speed, and the apparent wind is lifting water to the point where I'm free falling down the back of the wave. And I can't see shit because all my
the spray
is a curtain white spray. And all of a sudden, after 10 feet, it felt like maybe even more free falling. Boom! Slam my chest. Great medicine ball throws at your stomach during training days. You know, and all of a sudden, that's when I'm deciding I might want to be surrendering.
Yeah.
Because most waves don't come in pairs of one. Right? And so I'm paddling, kind of starting to surrender. Like I can't see anything. It's all white. The wind and this wall of now a 50-foot wave sent a 100-foot wall of white spray that is blocking my vision to what's behind.
Yeah.
And so I'm starting to slow down, but still kind of, you know, paddling hard. As this curtain of white spray unveils, what's behind it is the biggest wave I've ever seen up and close in my life.
Oh man.
And at that moment, there was parts of me that maybe wanted to panic. Importance, and it's not even like it was a choice at that time. I would say I did choose to surrender, but in other ways, I went into this autopilot.
Acceptance. I think it's more like acceptance, right?
Yeah, it was like my subconscious. I surrendered to the moment, and my subconscious took control. I didn't look at it like a deer in the headlights. I put my head down. I took a big, deep breath consciously. I slowed down my paddle cadence. Long exhale to slow my heart rate. Eyes up. Okay, here we go. Big, deep breath. And I decided to stand up on my board to dive off so that I could penetrate the surface. Now, it doesn't seem like much, but surface tension can mean breaking bones when you get caught between a wave, especially a wave with that much mass and that much density of water. And so even if you could break surface tension and go a foot or two under the surface, you're going to take away a lot of the initial impact.
Yeah.
Right. And so I made that choice again, but it was almost autopilot. Like, it's not like everything was in. Sometimes you hear people in slow motion. I had so much time to collect and make this choice. And yeah, in a way that might have been happening, but almost more so thinking back on it, it was like, it just happened. My body took control. My subconscious and my preparation got called to action, and I slowed down my pace. I took my eyes away from it, and I faced my fears, and I kept my cool, and I dove down, and I got the most aggressive ragdoll beating of my life.
Oh, man.
And I felt arms and legs were going to be ripped off, and I immediately reached for my vest, which has an inflation valve with CO2 cartridges. And I hard to even reach up to my chest to grab the thing because the water felt like it was tearing my arms apart. And I reach up, I pull it, and after that, I just grab my freaking vest as tight as I can. And I'm holding up here, and I'm just trying to relax while keeping my arms and legs tucked in. Right? Because I don't want to get whiplash or break an arm from having my.
Because the other worry as well is when the board flapping about everywhere, because bang can hit you, right?
That's almost more of a concern than being held, because we have safety precautions, right? We go out with foam float that gives us a little bit of impact protection, but it also will float us to the surface, worst case scenario.
Yeah.
But we also are wearing a vest with CO2 air cartridges that gives us 4 opportunities to pull and inflate air.
Yeah.
Now, that's the last case. That's like worst case scenario, or, your last safety precaution, right? And in that case, I pulled it immediately because I knew it was a serious situation. I didn't wait for me to say, oh, man, I hurt myself.
The price of CO2, isn't worth, dying over it, is it?
Exactly. And I also knew from my past experience that when you are inflated, you get dragged in more. And so to think that I had 500 yards, think 5 football fields of impact zone.
Yeah, man.
Oh, you know, mate,
waves 20 to 80 feet tall.
And you can't just turn around and take a whitewater in, can you? No. You can't take one of those in, man. No. You can't.
So I was able to get dragged in far enough but I was down for a bit. I mean, you could go back and look in that video that it's pinned on my Instagram and it's also on my YouTube.
Okay.
But you know, that was definitely most surfers' nightmare. You were saying I could humbly say that. But I could also humbly say it's not something I ever want to experience again.
No. See, what I was going to say is, like, you were saying about, you know, paddling out there on your own. I thought when you're up against those huge waves like that, I thought that you had to be towed in with a jet ski.
Not nowadays, you know, and in the early 2000s, and when my dad was pioneering.
Show me age now, aren't I?
At Jaws, you know, hey, when were the strapped crew pioneering Jaws? That was the 80s, 90s? Early 90s, the 2000s. So early 90s, the 2000s, there is a crew of windsurfers and surfers that really created the sport of tow surfing. And there was days where the ocean was just too big to get in the water at the normal locations that they would surf for. But of course, they still wanted to find a way to get in the water and have fun. And so there was a crew of locals that discovered this wave on Maui's North Shore. And at that time, it wasn't really named. Peahi was a nearby name of a bay. But at that time, some of the locals called it atom blasters because it was this force of nature that they couldn't even understand. And they started the word got out about this location and this core group of windsurfers, including Laird Hamilton, Brett Lickle, Pete Cabrina, my father, and Mike Waltz, and all of these guys that they revolutionized the big wave surfing and what was possible.
Wow.
And at that time, doing it with dinghies, with small inflatable boats. And then they figured out these boats can't outrun these waves.
Yeah,
it's like if you have to pick up and you have to go in the impact zone to save someone, these boats aren't fast enough. So then they started using jet skis. Then jet skis became the vehicle for a big wave surfer. And for many years, it was the only way to get into these big waves over 30, 40 feet.
Right.
You know? And into the 2000s, there was a crew of surfers that referred to themselves as the Mad Dogs. You know, Marcio Ferreira, rest in peace, and a crew of Maui surfers, Yuri Soledade. You know, there was a small handful of guys that started to challenge what was thought as possible. They were breaking mold in a sense because they started to paddle in to atom blasters, or at that time it started to be referred to as Jaws.
Right. Okay.
And Jaws is known to be one of the biggest waves in the world.
It's the most. I think it's the most popular, isn't it? When everyone says big wave surfing, what, Jaws?
Yeah.
You know, they always say that. Yeah.
Well, big surfing was innovated and really pioneered Jaws. You know, and you know, this crew of Mad Dogs started paddling in to Jaws, and the tow surfers thought they were freaking insane. They thought they were gonna die.
Wow.
You know, and they ended up making it happen, and slowly but surely, you know, the safety and the equipment caught up to it. The boards were big and heavy, unlike anything we've ever surfed before. But it allowed us to get the paddle speed we needed to get into the wave. It allowed us to manage the speed and the chop. It allowed us to manage the sheer velocity and fierceness of the surface chop.
Yeah. Right.
And so I was about 15 years old when I got my first board for surfing Jaws, and it was a stand-up paddle board that was custom made here on Maui, and I started stand-up paddle jaws, and I actually windsurfed it on a few small days before that.
Yeah.
It was a great to have an introduction into the lineup, because I could have the power of the wind to outrun the wave, and only as much as I wanted to put myself close to the wave.
Yeah.
I saw that video where it's just like slicing through, like the ropes are slicing through the wave. It looks so cool. And then the other thing I saw as well, like, you know, you were saying how mentally prepared you were for going down these waves. You know,
yep.
You say that, but then you still got this fucking selfie stick, 360 selfie stick. I'm like, what is this guy doing? Like, but because the other thing as well, the feeling, explain, because I've been barreled once and I didn't get through it, right? But explain to us what that feels like when you got these massive overhead barrels, you're just in this tube. Like, well, what's that feel like, man?
Yeah, you know, the sensation of being, you know, in a barrel is really unique, and I think it's probably what most surfers dream about most. You know, it's the whole wave all of a sudden shapes to the point where it's not only standing up vertical, but the power of the ocean behind it actually throws the wave, and it leaves a hollow space, so that you're actually riding inside this hollow space of the throwing wave that's curling over your head, and you're racing in the same direction of the wave. And it's a really unique experience, and probably the most intimate ride you could have on a wave.
Yeah, and the sound as well is like, it's like the sound is crazy, and it spits you out at the end.
And it sound muffles and echoes almost, and you know, it's a really cool feeling, whether it's a tiny barrel or a giant barrel, you know. And that, I'd say most surfers, you know, and a lot of like the flow state that's starting to become more talked about in the you know, for everyday people, is actually a state that's part of our instinctual stress responses. And so when we hear of fight or flight, we also have a state of flow. Fight, flow, right? And the sense of flow is when we have this sense of acute alertness, that we can make a clear choice under stressful situations. Right? We're not running away from it. We're not fighting it. We are managing, dealing with it.
With the moment,
right?
Yeah.
We're surrendering to the moment. Right? And I think most surfers, a lot of surfers and snowboarders and skateboarders brought that term mainstream, right? But scientifically, it's actually been researched further, and it is an instinctual response.
Yeah, I think aren't they trying to they're trying to find some sort of drug or something that can put somebody into that state. So, you know, when you're in this like hyper focus mode, like you say, you know, apparently
there's already one out there.
Yeah, what's that?
We all have access to it.
The ocean, breathing.
Oh, breathing, right? Okay, yeah.
Wim Hof breathing method, mate. I did that on my sofa once. It was amazing. I just literally felt like I became part of my sofa. I was like, oh my God, there's something in this. Following Wim Hof YouTube video. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, the Wim Hof guy is really mainstream.
Yeah.
That the tool breath for everybody. Everyone has the access to breath.
Yeah.
And we could use.
We're gonna get him on. We're gonna get him on this podcast, Wim Hof. I was that close once. So cool. I was that close once, but he was busy for the rest of the year for about 4 months. So this month now. I'm going to contact him again.
I'd love
that. That would be so cool.
Yeah.
If I could join in, man, that'd be rad.
We get Zane in.
And regardless, I'll tune in to watch.
Do it, mate. Get your ass into the studio.
Yeah, man. Have you ever been over here, Zane? You ever been to Cornwall in the UK?
I have, not to Cornwall, but I have been to the UK. Where?
What, for surfing? Man, for surfing or just for
Liverpool?
Oh, Liverpool.
No. Okay, do you know Surf Snowdonia?
Surf Snowdonia. Is that?
No. There's a wave pool up in the mountains in the UK and England, in Snowdonia.
Oh wow, really? Mate, we got to go there.
I don't know if there's one in Bristol, mate.
Is there?
Yeah, there's a wave project. They've just built it in Bristol, but it's not very big. It's
Conwy.
Conwy.
I'll have a look, mate. I'll have a look.
So anyway,
have you ever tried?
When they first did that wave pool, they actually brought a few pro surfers out to test it, and I was one of the guys that were able to kind of give it the thumbs up. And,
nice.
You know, it was really cool to experience it, and I actually had a lot of fun connecting with our starboard team there, because they have some stand-up paddle shops in the UK. In North Wales.
North Wales.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because
just looking at it now, mate, yeah.
That's going to be cold water.
Yeah, my family I'm saying North Wales.
But what have you ever? How many of these wave machines have you been to? Because I know that funny enough, we were talking about this the other day. Actually, Kelly Slater's got his own private one, hasn't he?
Yeah. So I've surfed probably 3 or 4 or 5 wave pools. We actually had a world championship event for sup surfing in Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates.
Oh, no!
And for a moment there, they had the largest and best wave pool. And it was such a fun event, man, and such a trip. We're driving through the desert for hours, and all of a sudden come up on the water park.
No way!
With a wave.
Oh, wow! It probably looked like a mirage or something.
It was full on.
Oh, cool, man. Hey, talk to us a little bit about this. Is it foiling?
Oh yeah, I saw one of your YouTube videos, mate, where the foil went into your shin, and then you spent an hour in the hospital or whatever. And I was like, holy shit!
I don't know if I mentioned it in the film, but like while she was stitching me, I'm like focusing on the camera, trying to film it, and I like zoom in at the camera, and I actually fainted.
Oh,
it was
did you?
I mean, it was not like a giant cut or something life-threatening or anything, too, which is kind of embarrassing. But, like, as I'm filming, I, like, drop the camera on top of her hand, and, like, I fall there.
But she was messing around with it quite a lot. I was like, oh, my God, she's been, like, really rough with it. And you was just like, you didn't give a shit. I was like, this guy's super tough, man.
Like, she's like my surf and hydrofoil friend. So,
wow.
It was like, damn it, Zane. In here for like doctor
because those things are quite new, aren't they? I mean, in comparison to like surfing and everything like that,
they're becoming quite popular over here at the moment.
Past
6 months
we want to try it, but it seems like one of those things where it's a bit of a steep learning curve to actually get on it and get the momentum,
Well, I tell you what, it's accessible to everyone.
Right.
And I can say that from experience. I've taught over 800 people how to hydrofoil over the last 2016. We've been teaching hydrofoiling at Maui Sports Adventures, and hey Kava, shh, quiet. My dog's barking, sorry. But yeah, since we've been teaching hydrofoiling at Maui Sports Adventures, and we've taught hundreds of people to successfully and confidently fly. And but it is one of those sports that I would recommend getting a lesson from. Don't just rent gear yourself out there. I would say
that's not my style, mate. That's not my style. I'll just fucking buy one and say, Mace, we're gonna go do this now.
Dude, that's my style too. I would probably beat myself up, but it really goes a long way, almost like skydiving. You wouldn't go rent a freaking parachute and jump off a building.
No.
And so it's good to have a little bit of guidance, because you don't want to scare yourself away, and you also don't want to have an injury.
Yeah.
And so with guidance in the right situation, with beginner equipment that's designed for low speed and high lift, you could safely learn how to fly within your first 2 hours of learning.
Okay. Yeah, because there's a lot to do with like the length of the fin and everything like that, isn't it? And the width as well.
Width of the foils.
The body weight and stuff.
Yeah. So if you guys are familiar with aerodynamics, like what makes an airplane fly, or your lift maybe, it's the same dynamics and principle that applies, but in the ocean, which is a much thicker, denser matter. And so moving through water, you don't need as much surface area to lift our body weight, right? Because it's denser. And so we have these little mini airplanes, almost like a little wing, that sits about 2 to 3 feet under the board. And as you move with momentum, catching a wave, that speed you get is enough to lift your weight off the water. And then from there, you're 3-dimensional surfing, controlling your altitude by leaning forward to drop closer to the water and back to lift higher to the water. And so it's a really, it really is the closest sensation I've ever had to flying.
Oh, really?
It feels so much different surfing. It doesn't feel so much like surfing.
Right.
It looks amazing because even in the chop and stuff, you know, you can.
Yeah. But I've seen. I've seen some videos where, you know, people are just looking like they're just having so much fun cruising, and then they go over and get another wave and they're going down the line, and then you see other ones where they're just like
up and down.
I'm thinking, how long could you do that for?
Yeah, it looks tiring, man.
Yeah.
There's definitely a few different demographics or styles of hydrofoiling. In Europe, pump foiling, like what you're seeing, the monkey jumping down on the board, you know, that's pump foiling. And a lot of people who live on lakes or places of flat water really enjoy hydrofoil pumping.
That's what I thought it was. That's what I was going to go for. Yeah,
you could jump off a dock. You know, you push the board off the side of the water with momentum created by walking on the side of the dock, and then you jump onto the board and you're bouncing up and down, essentially generating your own forward momentum. Just like how a dolphin or a whale generates its forward momentum by moving its body up and down. The foil mimicking, you know, that movement and that forward propulsion. But there is also powered foils that are electric powered, and those are referred to as e-foils. And the e-foils are also...
Mate. Get one of them. Yeah. Yeah. Stop this pumping shit, mate. Get on the old... that
so
sounds
super
amazing.
Easy to learn because it's essentially all in the throttle in your hand.
Right.
And so if you have good hand control, you could control your altitude by gassing it or letting go of the gas. And so it's less dependent on your actually center of gravity and how you stand on the board. Right. It's more dependent on the throttle.
Yeah.
But how I would teach someone, I would get them behind a boat in flat water with a rope, pulling with a rope in flat water, just getting the basics of flight and at slow speed. Get comfortable with that, and then we'll send you into the surf.
Hey, mate, I also saw that you're doing this kite skateboarding. That looks so good. That looks amazing. Have you seen that? It's a massive...
Is that the wing that you've got?
Yeah.
It's like a kite, but you hold on to it. There's no ropes. Yeah. I know. I've always wanted to...
sport. That's called wing foiling.
That's what I've seen you do, mate. Is that what you was doing when you hurt your leg? When the foil went into your leg?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I saw, and I thought that's a fucking great idea with the wing and the foil, mate. Because it's always windy down here, isn't it? Pretty much.
Yeah.
To pump up and down. Then you got the power of the wind in your hands to keep your forward momentum, and it's a really unique way to utilize the wind, because with the hydrofoil, you don't need much wind. No. Like all you need is 10 to 15 knots, and you could be having fun wing foiling every day.
Wow. Hey, mate, final sort of question. The people are going to want to know, because people are so afraid of the sea sometimes, especially like surfing, of the sharks.
Oh, shit.
Any shark stories? Come on, you got to have some shark stories.
They only bite if you touch their private parts.
Oh, God.
in all seriousness, I'll teach you guys a way to know whether or not there's sharks nearby, right? So you approach. This is like a, wisdom I've learned from, being surrounded by amazing watermen and waterwomen. So one of my uncles told me, if you ever want to know if there's sharks around, you walk to the water's edge, you cup your hand, you scoop some water, you smell the water, you lick the water, and if it smells and tastes salty, there's sharks around.
Jesus, mate.
I was fully engrossed in that then. I was like, right, okay.
He's going to tell us something cool here.
Oh, mate.
Zane, have you ever surfed Nazare? Have you ever been to Portugal and surfed Nazare? That's what
I've never surfed Nazare yet. No, I haven't.
Are you going
I've been planning some trips out there, and I really am looking forward to experience it for sure. I'm definitely excited to get out there. I think more so in recent years, that's become known as probably the biggest wave in the world.
Yeah.
It's not the same type of wave.
No, it's like it's like a wedge, isn't it? It's just one giant wedge coming out of deep water.
Yeah, it's definitely a different wave from Jaws in the sense that it's an A-frame where two collide together.
That's why it's so big.
That's what we got at Tolkien, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a little bit Tolkien wedge, like the wedge that we've got in Cornwall. We used to surf a lot, but we're just so old now. We don't.
That speaks for your sucking self.
How many times did you go in last year?
3 times last year. Actually, this is 3 times more than you.
No, we've got we've got Tolkien wedge, which is the wave hits the cliff and then makes a wave go sideways, a little bit like California wedge, but the Nazare, it's two directions coming through 2 channels of deep water.
Yeah,
and then it jacks up to 1 point.
Right. At your wave locally, is the wave like double in height? When
that's
you get a load of bodyboarders just waiting around this little pocket and waiting to be like. Yeah. But is there a wave, Zane? Is there a wave too big for you? Is it? Yeah. Are you always searching for the biggest wave? Is there any wave you just look at and go, no, I'm not doing that?
You see me consciously take a deep breath right there, because I definitely want to be prepared for whatever the ocean throws at me.
Right.
And I've always been one to gravitate towards the windiest spot, the biggest wave. And if there was a day that was massive, that was way bigger than we've ever seen, you best believe I'd be out there pushing myself and trying to, experience and get comfortable with that, because I dream about it a lot, like when I was a kid, I feel like there was a lot more big swells in the 80 to 100 foot range, and even 100 foot plus, and
what's the record at the moment? Do you know what the record is right now?
It's Nazare, isn't it? Isn't Nazare about 90 foot or something?
Is that the one that I've seen the viral video with? They're all standing on the cliffside.
That's it, mate. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah,
that was a year or 2 ago.
Who was that? That was a German surfer, right?
I can't remember.
Surfed that. Sebastian.
Yeah, that's
I think it's Sebastian Zietz or something. I can't believe I'm spacing, but Sebastian holds the current record for the largest wave in Nazare, and I think it's somewhere between like 90 and 115.
It's mental, mate.
Ridiculous.
Just this season, I would say there was an over 100-foot ride that could be taking the new world record.
Really?
He got away. I want to say near 120 feet. I mean, it looks big. And so Nazare is so that's like more of a tow surf wave.
Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of the big wave surfing that I do is a little bit more traditional. Right. We're paddling.
Yeah.
Right. And the choice to tow surf and take the jet ski into the wave is pretty much determined once it's too big to catch the wave,
right?
Or it's too rough to catch the wave, and that is different all the time. You know, sometimes it could be 30 foot and it might be too windy and too bouncy to surf it without the jet ski. And then we take the jet ski with the tow board and pull into it. But at Nazare, I think it's a lot more of a tow surf wave in the sense that it's a little more wild. It's a little bit more unpredictable.
Yeah.
It's breaking around a lot. Whereas Jaws is a unique, it's forever going to be, to me, the best big wave in the world because it holds its shape. The bigger it gets,
it's a beautiful wave.
Still a beautiful barrel that looks rideable and beautiful shape. And it's breaking over the reef, generally in a place you can anticipate every time. And so for paddle surfing and not having the ability to run away from a wave, it's really user friendly in a way. It's maybe friendly, but it's more doable. So when I go to Newquay, I definitely would be wanting to get comfortable with it, doing tow surfing. Right. And I'd love to catch some bomb tow surfing and go out there. And so I'll be planning some Nazare trips for sure.
Oh, cool, man. Do you have a one wave that you'll never forget, like a favorite wave that you just think, Jesus, that couldn't have even been any better?
It's so hard to like. I've been asked that a lot. Normally, it's pretty hard to pinpoint one, but just this last big wave swell on January, I think it was January 16th or 22nd, one of those last big wave swells we had. I definitely have a wave that I'll never forget.
Yeah.
And it was the wave that I was describing earlier on the podcast where, you know, the biggest wave I've ever seen up close and personal in my life was just standing up right in front of me, and I didn't have the opportunity to catch it, you know, and I just surrendered to it and literally took the beating of the biggest wave, one of the biggest waves I've ever seen. And so in many ways that stands out in my head as one of the more highlighted waves, because number one, it in many ways it's a confidence booster to know what that experience is going to be like, and to know that I can make it through it, and that I can handle it, you know. Of course things can happen always, and that's always something we have to remember, and there's safety precautions to always take. My brother, I'll trust my life in my brother's hands, and we work together, big wave surfing. You know, he's my towing partner, driving the jet ski and doing safety pickups.
Oh, okay.
And he also surfed. He also surfed Jaws too, where I'll look after him jet ski. And so, you know, having that teamwork and that sense of preparation with a collaborative effort helps with confidence as well. You know, knowing that even if I do black out, or even if I do go unconscious, my brother still has an opportunity to find me because I'll be floating with my vest and my inflation. Still has a chance to resuscitate me, or to whatever. And that's something that we've all prepared for. Everyone on the water out there is pretty much CPR certified and you know, knows how to get a body out of the water safely without hurting.
That's what's amazing, seeing you guys compete in these big waves. It's amazing the team that you've got looking after you, and how quickly they can get in between those waves and pick you guys up. And you know, I've seen horror things. I've seen surfers at Nazare they're unconscious, get rescued, taken into the beach, and it's horrible to see. But you guys, it's a different league over what me and Ben surf around in Cornwall. You know, we're surrounded by the ocean here. We surfed a lot when we were a lot younger, but you guys are just a different league. It's spiritual. It's just unbelievable to see it. It's unbelievable to witness you guys surfing out there, seeing it. It's unreal.
And speaking to you, Zane, like what you just said there is quite spiritual. You do seem so like a spiritual person, so grounded, very like well aware of yourself and what you're doing, what your purpose is. You know, it's really it's inspiring. It really is.
Well, I thank you for sharing that and giving me the opportunity to talk story with you guys. And you know, a lot of what I have the chance to share is You know, I have the fortunate opportunity to be surrounded by amazing people, amazing family, and the ocean. You know, I give so much credit to, you know, my everyday choices and my power of choice from what I've learned being a waterman and the lessons the ocean taught me that I could, you know, relate to life and business as a student or whatever.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time it can also be relatives in storytelling for people to, you know, relate an experience to something that they maybe feel nervous about or stressed about. And there's ways that you could also use these same tools that I use to help you efficiently finish your project or get a job done or, you know, just deal with at home, you know?
Hey, when's your next competition?
Oh, I'm actually getting ready to leave on next weekend. So last weekend of February, I'll be doing a canoe surfing competition called the Buffalo Classic at Makaha. And if that's a category of wave riding that you got to check out. When we're done with this podcast, check out Big Wave Canoe Surfing at Makaha.
Okay.
And you will be baffled.
Really?
Okay, mate.
Oh, man.
I'm going to make a note. Because I will definitely check that out.
Well, what we're going to do, mate, we're going to say goodbye, but don't hang up because we'll have a little chit chat afterwards. Yeah. But before we go, did you want to shout out any of your social media sites, say Instagram, YouTube channels?
Yeah, man, I really enjoyed talking with you guys, and I'd love for everyone to, and you guys as well, to join my world of action on the water. You could follow me on Instagram, Zaniac1, like maniac, but with the Z. Zaniac1 on Instagram, Zane Schweitzer on Facebook, and YouTube /Zane Schweitzer for my YouTube channel. And gonna be doing a lot of fun projects and storytelling pieces on my YouTube and Instagram this year. So definitely check it out. If you guys want to check out our feature film that was just released, it's on Amazon and Red Bull TV, available to you guys to watch in Europe and wherever you are in the world. It's called Broken Molds. It tells the revolution story, the evolution story of windsurfing and the revolution of water sports.
Also, so, nice. And also your book as well.
Yep, and my book it's named Beneath the Surface. Thank you for plugging that. You guys could check Beneath the Surface on my website or on Amazon.
Yeah.
If you're out of the United States, Amazon might be better for shipping. Mm-hmm. And of course, too, I want to invite you guys to be a part of, to get a taste of the waterman and waterwoman lifestyle. Like, you guys could actually come and stay at our surf camp and take part in our retreats and come surf with, you know, world-class watermen like my family and myself and you know, our world-class instructors. And so if you guys or anyone listening wants to come and visit us in Maui, you can check us out at mauisportsadventures.com. It's a full family business. It's all word of mouth. So we only try and surround ourselves with good people. We'd love for you guys.
Nice, man. What a nice guy, eh?
I'd love to come, but I probably won't be able to make it until I'm about 50, mate. Oh my God.
Mate.
Imagine, that'd be beautiful.
That's so good. Anyway, Zane, thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Zane. Stay safe.
We'll put all your links in the description as well to all of your socials and your websites and your books and your movies and